In addition, the request includes an amendment to the future land use map from neighborhood commercial to medium-density residential. The purpose of this request is to align the zoning and future land use of the property with the residential character and use of the surrounding residential neighborhood. The legal description for the property is the south 110 feet of Lot 2, Block 1, Ramstead's 3rd Edition to the city of Minot, North Dakota. The property address is 106 4th Avenue Northwest. The two recommendations before the council are an ordinance on the first reading for a zoning map amendment from the C1 Neighborhood Commercial District to RM Medium Density Residential District, and two Resolution 3773 to amend the future land use map for the subject property from commercial to medium density residential. Again, this is an opportunity for anyone to come forward on this public hearing to speak either in favor, in opposition, or neutral to the recommendations before this body. One more time for a call for comments on this public hearing for the recommendations before us. Seeing none, what are the wishes of council? Alderman Pittner.
Mayor, I move that we close the public hearing and approve the item with recommendations of staff.
Motion by Alderman Pittner to close the public hearings and approve the recommendations from staff. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Ross. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Final call for discussion. I will just make final mention on this, that this has been brought to, I think, several of us and or staff over the last several months, if not a little longer than that, to try to get this property back off of city ownership and out into the option for acquisition from a private individual or entity to get the Home Sweet Home building back restored and into best possible use. Mr. City Manager.
Along that same line, staff is working on that, including have directed Mr. Rosenthal, our economic development staff member, to prepare an RFP, RFQ process for council to consider on the proper disposal of that property going forward. So that'll be an agenda item, hopefully in July, for council consideration on that and the different options regarding with the disposal of that property. Main question will be is whether you want as much money as you can get out of it, or do you want more control over how that's developed and what it looks like after. So that'll be coming before the council next month.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. This is step one of that process. All right, seeing no discussion, further discussion on this item, the motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Pittner.
Yes.
Padragula.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Sipma.
Yes.
Janser.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Our next section is under the consent items. We had 13 different items in this section of the agenda. I've been asked to pull 6.2, number 3, for individual discussion. Outside of that, all items otherwise motioned by the council will be passed with recommendations of staff. I would look out into the audience if any one item needs to be pulled for individual consideration. Seeing none from the audience or no others from council, what are the wishes? Alderman Pittner.
Mayor, I move that we approve all items in consent.
Motion is to approve all items minus 6.2, number 3 on consent as recommended by Alderman Pittner. Is that correct, sir? Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Olson. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Any discussion? Final call for discussion. Motion is to approve all items under the consent agenda with the exception of 6.2, number 3. Please call the roll.
Pittner.
Yes.
Padragula.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Sipma.
Yes.
Janser.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Motion is approved. 6.2 is under the ordinance section. Number 3 is ordinance number 5751, the stop sign ordinance. This is the area of 16th Street Northwest and 30th Avenue Northwest. Motion for the individual item.
Move approval.
Motion by Alderman Pittner. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Padragula. Alderman Padragula, you had asked that this be pulled. If you want to have first go at it, and then I think Lance is up for some discussion as well, our city engineer.
Thank you. Yes. This afternoon I think all of us received an email from a citizen raising some safety concerns about that intersection. And I immediately sent off an email to our traffic engineer, who is not in the office today, so I asked Lance if he would be able to speak to this issue. The concerns, there were 3 concerns, as best as I can tell, that the constituent raised with that stop sign. The first was that the constituent felt that traffic goes through that intersection fairly quickly, and felt that a stop sign would improve safety. I don't need to ask this question because I've asked it of traffic engineer and engineering department on many occasions. The answer we always get back is that stop signs aren't meant as a speed control device. So that's not the intent there. Would it slow down traffic? Perhaps, but that's not the intent. The other 2 questions that I do want the engineering people to answer is in terms of the sidewalks. There is a sidewalk on the west part of 16th Street, south of 30th Avenue. There is one all the way north and south of 30th Avenue on the east side. And if you're going from that residential neighborhood on the west side of the street, a stop sign probably would facilitate crossing 16th. So you'd have to, if you wanted to go north to Ramsted, you'd have to cross the street from the west side to the east and proceed up the sidewalk. The second concern the citizen raised was the traffic coming in from that development, particularly a couple of apartment complexes and 3 streets, I think 8th through 12th Street on the east of 16th off of 30th, and if there would be adequate opportunity for traffic coming from that developed area to get across the street if cars are going 30 or 35 miles an hour on 16th in particular. So I wanted to ask Lance if he felt comfortable addressing those 2 concerns, which are new to me and I think need to be dealt with.
Mr. Meyer.
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Padragula, we did receive the email as well, and I did chat with Stefan a little bit about it. Today, he's at the ITE conference, getting educated and bringing some knowledge back to the city. Just like he mentioned in his report that came with the ordinance change last month, unwarranted stop signs just exacerbate bad driving behavior. And so when we look at this intersection for a 4-way stop, you want about equal traffic. And the volumes on 16th Street are about double what they are in 30th Avenue. So, in our opinion, it's a no-brainer to change that back to a 2-way stop control where 16th Street is the through. For the pedestrians in the area, 30th Avenue really has no facilities. There was a project plan back in 2012 proposed by Special Assessment to reconstruct that roadway. That project did not move forward. So basically, at some point, the city would program some federal funding and try to get this project built. And that would include sidewalks and shared use paths, just like what we've done on 31st Avenue in Southeast Minot. It looked basically identical to that. And there'd likely be, in the future, either a roundabout or a traffic signal at this intersection as volumes continue to grow. Today, traffic signal is definitely not warranted. If you can't get a 4-way stop to warrant traffic signal is completely out of the picture today. To get pedestrians across the roadway, the intersection would be striped, and we can definitely put in pedestrian crossing signs like you see at other intersections in town to help draw attention to the fact that you may have pedestrians that cross that roadway in that location. Other than that, it kind of goes back to basic intersection safety principles. If you're a pedestrian, you want to cross the roadway, you got to look both ways before you cross, find a window and cross safely. If you're a driver approaching the intersection, pedestrians have the right of way at an intersection. So everyone needs to keep those basic rules in mind when you cross. We as a city can do our part by putting in appropriate signage and making sure that we analyze the intersections appropriately so there's sign for all users of the roadway, not just pedestrians, not just bicyclists, not just cars, but everyone that shares the roadway.
So just to make sure I understand, what you're saying is that there really is no warrant, in the technical sense of the word, for a stop sign or a stop light at that intersection, that eventually that intersection will be improved in some fashion as 30th gets, as 30th gets improved toward the east, that there would be no real advantage to putting in some control there in terms of moving traffic westbound on 30th. And that in terms of pedestrian safety, kids in particular crossing the street, that we can put up some signs and paint a crosswalk in there to make it as safe, or if not safer than the current stop sign. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Padrigula, that's correct. This intersection would be, just like many others that we have in Minot, the volumes are really no different than crossing on 4th Avenue or some other places in town that pedestrians may cross.
And you don't see people going at 30 or 35 on 16th as being a problem then?
Well, it certainly is a problem, but, you know, signs and whatnot aren't going to solve that. It's just bad driver behavior. The only thing that, you know, we can put out countermeasures like signs and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's enforcement.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for our city engineer at this time? Thank you, Lance.
You're welcome.
Motion is to approve. Any other discussion on the motion? Any other discussion on the motion? Final call for discussion. Seeing none, the motion is to approve the item. Please call the roll.
Pittner,
Yes.
Padrigula,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sipma,
Yes.
Janser,
yes,
Olson,
yes,
Motion is approved. That takes us to our next section. These are the action items. This is 7.1, the budget amendment microfilm digitization project. The Minot Public Library has issues in the Minot Daily News dating back to 1894 on microfilm. This collection is extremely valuable to researchers, but can be challenging from genealogists and other researchers to use if they're not able to physically come to the library. With this in mind, the library administration has long been researching ways to allow online access to this research. The recommendations to the City Council is to amend the 2022 budget to increase the library grant and donations revenue and library IT maintenance and repairs expenditures for the library digitization project.
Move approval.
Motion by Alderman Pittner to approve, second by Alderwoman Olson. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Final call for discussion. Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Pittner,
Yes.
Padrigula,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sipma,
Yes.
Janser,
yes,
Olson,
yes,
Motion is approved. 7.2 is the City Hall Rehabilitation Advanced Air Purification Change Order Consideration number 4466. During the City Hall bidding process, an alternate was added to the bid specifications that would add the purification with ionization to the PSAP space for all City Hall. At the time of alternate selection, council chose to stop an alternate 4 out of the possible 12 alternates. This alternate was number 6. The recommendations to council is the staff does not have a recommendation. This item was requested to come back to council for consideration. Council can accept or decline the change order. I would look to council for discussion on this prior to a motion if so needed.
I'd move
Alderman
to accept.
Padagula.
I'd move to accept the change order.
Okay, the proposed project staff for council's consideration, the original bid was $27,000. The new price of installation of the air purifiers, $30,170. Cost includes all of the work to install the air purifiers and contractor's markup. Motion is to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Ross. Discussion on the motion. Alderman Patagula.
I think the major reason for supporting this is that one of the primary rationales for our grant, our NDR grant, which is $70+ million, was to improve the security of City Hall, particularly the dispatch center, by moving into a safer location and also making it more resilient in terms of potential toxins or things in the atmosphere. We almost lost the dispatch center during the ammonia leak some years ago. We almost lost it during the flood. And I think it would make sense now that it'll be in a safer City Hall location that we protect that facility as much as we can. You never know what's going to happen, and hazardous materials are more common in our society, and they certainly move through town on the railroad tracks. So I think it makes sense and is certainly very consistent with our entire application for the grant to make the community more resilient.
Council's and public's understanding, the project funding on this does come out of the City Hall Rehabilitation Contingency Fund, not from reserves or otherwise as depicted. Alderwoman Olson.
This is probably a question for our city engineer, but the question would be, what is the difference between the air purification system that would be in the rest of the building as opposed to what we're considering right now?
Mr. Meyer.
Mr. Mayor, Alderwoman Olson, I would classify this as an enhancement over the existing air purification system that's in the rest of the building. So ionization is basically ultraviolet light that kills bacteria and other things that are in the air ducts. It's not a code requirement. If it was a code requirement, we wouldn't be having this discussion, just be in the bid. So this is an enhancement on top of what's in the design package for today.
And if I could
Continue.
continue. So as Alderman Padragula was referencing some difficult situations, some, very dangerous situations, is this going to keep our PSAP staff safe at that point?
Mr. Mayor and Alderwoman Olson, I'll be honest, I don't know what this system will and will not protect against. I know for airborne pathogens and things like that, this system will take care of that, but if it's, I'm sure there's a limit as to what this system will clean as far as the air goes. I'm sorry, I don't know that exact answer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other further questions for our city engineer on this? Thank you again, Lance.
You're welcome.
Further discussion on the motion to approve the change order? Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Padragula,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sipma,
Yes.
Janser,
yes,
Olson,
Yes,
Pittner?
Yes.
Motion is approved. That is the end of our action items section of the agenda. Next is number 8. This is personal appearances. This is an opportunity for anyone to come forward and speak on any item that is or is not on our agenda. If you would come to the podium, you would have 5 minutes if you would just state your name and city of residence, and the floor would be yours. One more time for personal appearances for any item that is or is not on our agenda. Seeing none, we have under number 9, miscellaneous and discussion items. We have 9.1, which is the community contribution presentations. We do have 6 of them before us this evening. Number 1 is the Minot Commission on Aging. If you would, for the full council and then the folks that are watching either at home or on social media, just your name, title, and association.
Roger Reich, Minot Commission on Aging, Executive Director.
Thank you, Roger. Please go ahead.
I think Derek has a video for us.
We're going to hit pause, rewind, and turn up the sound.
It's always good to have friends in low places.
Extra measures to keep its volunteers safe and participants fed. The Minot Commission on Aging's Meals on Wheels program has been feeding seniors for nearly 50 years. And with travel expected to be nearly impossible tomorrow, frozen meals have been prepared to be delivered in addition to the daily hot meals that are provided. Today is the last day volunteers are taking meals out this week.
We've been planning ahead. Staff has taken out about 220 frozen meals yesterday, and we'll do that again today. Take out another 220 frozen meals so that the seniors will have those meals through the snowstorm.
The Minot Commission on Aging will be closed Wednesday the 12th through Monday the 18th. They will reopen Tuesday the 19th at 7 a.m.
So I'd just like to answer any questions, if there's any questions from the council on what we do on a daily basis and how we keep seniors in their homes here in Minot.
Any questions for Roger at this time? on the Commission on Aging. Roger, can you take a look at the black connector piece on the microphone and tell me if the little green light is on?
It is on. Yep.
Yes, okay,
Yep.
perfect, thank you. No questions from the council, Roger. Do you have any further comments or details?
I just like to thank the council and thank the city for the years of support and the partnerships that we've had since 1973. So thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you being here. Our next presentation is from First District Health Unit. And Lisa, again, if you would just identify yourself and title and organization for the folks here and at home.
I'm Lisa Clute, Executive Officer at First District Health Unit. I think you've all received our copy of our annual report and the application that I had sent in. I went through the service agreement, and Dave Lakefield and I talked about it a little bit, and I would anticipate that we would continue all of the current services that we are providing to the city, and that I know Narcan has been, additional Narcan may be needed, and we can provide that as needed or requested by the city. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have also.
Any questions for Lisa Clute at this time? Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Our next presenter here is Project B. And the same exact thing, name and title and association.
Hi friends, I'm Liz Larson. I'm the Executive Director of Project B. We provide anti-poverty programming here in the form of our homeless shelter, our diaper bank. We do rental assistance, anything to really help people stay in their homes, and if they do have to be homeless, give them the support, the services to overcome whatever barriers they're experiencing, and then support them in their new stable home. I don't really have much of a presentation either. I just want to answer questions and anything.
Thank you, Liz. Any questions from council? Alderwoman Olson.
Thank you. Do you anticipate an increase in need based on our current economic situation?
Unfortunately, yes. We've been getting the phone calls for all sorts of needs. Sometimes it is something just simple, like they need work clothes, help with diapers. Formula is a big need. We have been getting more calls than we can accommodate for shelter right now. We only have 6 non-congregate units at our existing shelter on 3rd Avenue. And unfortunately, that means only 6 families at a time. We have a wait list right now. And it's expensive. We have case management staff that's trained to identify barriers, identify signs like suicide prevention, addiction, mental health issues, make sure that we are able to just, again, help identify and overcome all barriers that our clients have. We are seeing clients having more barriers than usual. Unfortunately, it's not people just having a missed paycheck because they were sick and getting evicted. These folks that we're seeing lately are pretty heavy cases. There's a lot of CPS involvement. They don't have identification. They have an eviction. Sometimes they have records. We work pretty closely with Minot PD, especially their night shift. They were pretty great. I've had amazing conversations with a lot of their officers. They don't want to have to arrest people for being homeless. That's not a crime. But unfortunately, without the space and the facilities and the support, just keep it going, it is concerning with all the extra calls.
Thank you.
Liz, real quick, as you are a partner on the NDR project, Broadway Circle, perhaps maybe a snippet on that.
So right now, we were awarded some ARPA funding, pretty excited about that, with the Ward County Commissioners, and we're still fundraising, but we have pursued financing, which the pro forma for the facility shows that it will turn the profit to be able to pay it back. We are hoping to be able to break ground pretty quick. There's just a lot of weird bank stuff, like they have to do an appraisal and talk to the construction company, but I'm hoping that everything will be on track to still open in July of 2023, and we'll be able to house people in the 17 units of LMI, which is permanent housing, so it's landlord-tenant relationship. While it is LMI housing, we're kind of focusing on more of the L's, so the lower income folks versus the moderate income folks. We will have a 6-unit family shelter there, and it is set up non-congregate, which is great. Knock on wood, we don't want another pandemic or anything like that, but this way, even cold and flu season when you get kids, this way you keep them separate, nobody's sharing bathrooms, everybody can just stay healthy. You have the dignity. I have 3 kids, and I would not go to a shelter if I didn't have a door to lock. So we will also have the upgraded spaces for the Lord's Cupboard for their food pantry and soup kitchen. Pretty excited about that because they are the busiest food pantry in town, and they have been wanting a soup kitchen for a long time. They provide a meal for us every single week. I believe also the Men's Winter Refuge. They provide a meal for every single week. So they are ready. We're ready. It's been a long time coming, and we are so excited.
Thank you. Alderman Patagula.
Thank you. A constituent had a question. Do you have any rough idea as to how many homeless or unhoused individuals there are at this point in Minot, both individuals and families?
Unfortunately, that is a really hard number to come up with. HUD does the point in time count in January, and it's really hard because if somebody's sleeping on a couch, they're not considered to be homeless. I know that we had, with our winter warming center, about 25 to 35 people that we would see regularly kind of rotate through. We'd probably see 15 to 20 of them a night, but they would be pretty regular folks. They had the most severe needs, a lot of mental health issues, addiction issues. Right now, our non-congregate shelter upstairs is more focused on families, and like I said, we're full right now. We have a really young couple with their baby. If you look on our Facebook videos, you can see a really cute picture or video from Mother's Day with them. They just moved out today into their own permanent housing, which is amazing. So now we have room for another family to come in, get them some shelter, get them the help that they need. Again, finding identification, birth certificates, looking for jobs, providing them with bus passes, whatever they need.
So there was no room in the inn, and you were the manger.
Yeah.
It's very good to hear.
It's pretty great. You should all come visit.
Any other questions at this time? Thank you for your time, Liz.
All right, thanks.
Our next presenter here is Minot Area Chamber EDC. Good afternoon, Brecca.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks, Derek, for pulling that up. So I'm Brecca Kramer with the Minot Area Chamber EDC. I serve as the president and CEO, and about a month into the position. I also have in the audience with me Mark Lyman, who is our economic development specialist. I'm assuming I can click on through this. I won't take more than 5 minutes, I promise, but I did want to kind of give an overview of the work that we do at the Chamber EDC. As far as with it, our vision really is to be the go-to organization for our business community to drive key initiatives that build and strengthen our economy. We represent over 650 businesses in the Minot area and are proud of each of them being member investors in the organization supporting our mission and vision. Want to give you a quick glance of our board of directors. A lot of the key initiatives and efforts that we work on takes a full team. Not only does the chamber side of the house operate as far as with a number of volunteers, but economic development specifically. If you look at the board of directors, it is a very diverse group. We're very fortunate with the city funding to have the mayors represented on our board of directors, along with, we do receive some funding for economic development efforts from the county. So we also have a representative from the county. The rest of the individuals are all volunteers and really do give a lot of time and energy to help move the larger initiatives forward. With that, when we merged the two organizations in 2021, we did set forth a number of key initiatives. It's really kind of our guiding principle, and I know it's something that we've included in packets as we report back the work that we're doing in this space. specifically under economic development, which is one of the 4 kind of buckets of key initiatives that we function with. One of the largest projects that we've been working towards, and it's been an effort that not only the state of North Dakota has undertaken, but also Minot specifically for over 2 decades, which is securing the long-term viability of intermodal service for our state and our region. And with the action tonight, we're moving a step closer to a long-term commitment in that space, which is really exciting for not only the state, but truly the full region. And the other part too is, as we look at some of the property that surrounds the port, one of the things that we can now move to is really kind of the marketing of the assets around that. We know that value-added ag and some of the other very strategic entities could be a part of this effort. And so one of the things that we were able to as a board secure was a CRISI grant funding. We've already had the market report and analysis back, and we'll be moving through a couple final chapters as far as with that. What that's going to do is allow us to have a better insights as far as where can we focus our efforts, and just know as far as with our work, when I talked about the vision of kind of who we really do serve as the liaison to a number of the state entities, whether it be the Department of Commerce, the Department of Transportation, a number of the other partners across the state. We also partner with entities like BNSF, who we are one of the only site certified locations. I think at the time we received the certification, we were one of 13 in the whole United States. So we're working a lot of larger efforts around this economic development piece. And really, for the most part, our goal is to develop that logistics park and other real property and move those initiatives forward. We do have other key initiatives, and when I am back in front of you in July, providing our report, our semi-annual report, we'll cover some of those things a little bit further. I do want to highlight some of the recent achievements. Our team has been working on a number of fronts. I don't know if we'll call it an achievement, but you do have a new leadership as far as in place, and I'm really excited to be at the helm working with not only you as community leaders, our great board of directors, but also the business community and representing that sector as we move these initiatives forward. I do want to call out, though, a couple of other things. We were a part and partnered with a number of entities to bring forward entrepreneurial programs like Startup Minot, the Academy, and the networking component. We were just recently hosting a site selector visit, which is something that the community of Minot has not undertaken for a number of years. So we are looking for the development of what is it that we can bring to the community to kind of fill those gaps and those holes. I won't go through all these in details, but note that a lot of these are tied to state initiatives, and we really are connected in with those efforts. One of the biggest is obviously workforce, and I'll cover that with kind of the budget request as well. The other part too, though, is our role is not only to be the gateway for Magic Fund requests that come forward, but we also are the advocate for economic development tools that help businesses invest in our community. And a great example of that would be the TIF that I know City Manager mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. We see that as a viable economic development tool, and our board of directors took a resolution of support to unanimously support TIFs as an economic development tool for our region. Those are the type of things that we want to make sure that when people are investing in our community, they know that what are those tools, what are those pieces that we can help to bring forward, and not only that, but be the voice and support those. We also are tied in with other efforts, and again, I won't go into all the details, but we've recently, along with your airport director, met with Vantis, which is operating under the Department of Commerce, working some larger UAS initiatives with the beyond visual line of sight. The other part is we are constantly reaching out to the primary sector businesses in our region. And with that, we do what's called BR&E, which is business retention and expansion interviews. We target doing at least 5 of those a month to really understand where those opportunities are, where there are gaps that we can help the communities fill and move those efforts forward. I do want to take a brief minute just on the vision forward. You're going to see a lot of things that we're really excited about. These are just a couple to highlight. But as far as in workforce, talent, and attraction, we know that this isn't a Minot area issue or a regional issue. This is something that we're seeing nationally. And actually today was just in Bismarck with Governor Burgum and Lieutenant Governor Sanford with a small working group trying to determine how do we support some of the efforts in this space, whether it be childcare, supporting programs like CTE. And so we are at the heart of those conversations and really see a lot of time and energy that will be put towards this moving forward. As we mentioned, the entrepreneurial development, we're excited about the community. We have a thriving entrepreneurial spirit throughout our community, and so we're very happy to support those efforts. And then just know we are in the process of strategic planning, which kind of times in with new leadership, and we're moving that forward. And I am just going to quickly give an overview on just a couple of other efforts, whether it comes tied to economic development, specifically governmental affairs and military affairs. As we move into this next legislative session, we know that there's Minot priorities that the city of Minot engages with and moves forward. But one of the bigger things is we know that also we need to go into the session with one voice. So leading up to the election, the Chamber EDC did host candidate forums. And also we track legislative champions. And that'll be something that you'll hear more of as we get closer towards the general election in November. GNDC, one of our partner organizations, which is the state chamber, is constantly tracking who are the legislators moving business initiatives forward for our state. So we're linked in with those entities, making sure that as we understand the policy positions, whether it be under infrastructure, business climate, or workforce, where are those policy positions and how can we help benefit our business community? You'll see us taking a more active role in this governmental affairs space and working with a lot of the entities that are going to Bismarck and asking for funds, so that not only is it something, whether it be flood control through the Souris Basin Planning Council or Souris River Joint Board and our partner entities like the city, but also too, what are the other things that our Minot area is asking for and how can we go to Bismarck with one voice? That's a key priority of ours. And then obviously specific to the Chamber EDC, funding towards some of our military efforts, and then if there are any gaps with the logistics park in North Dakota, we'll be looking at that. But this is one space that we're really looking to be proactive in and have set some strategies forward. The other is military affairs. It is a part of our budget request to the city of Minot to support our efforts in this space. And unfortunately, I know Alderman Janser is joining us virtually. It's an area that he sits along, and I know the mayor as well has been involved with. The military component is obviously a huge economic development driver for our community. It's over $600,000 or $606 million in economic impact alone from this past year. It's a huge critical part, and we do receive a small bucket of dollars from the city to help us in these efforts at the national, state, and local level. And we have representatives from our community participating at all three of these levels. So going into the budget request for this year, I understand that budgets are tight and, really as far as with the work we're doing, we are coming in with a level funding request. Note though, just based on our contractual obligations to the city with our role in economic development, we're sitting in about a $100,000 gap that we will work for to come up with on our own. But the key thing that I do want to leave a door open for is under workforce. We know that we have already been tapped on the shoulder. I know Alderman Pittner was a part of some of the recent conversations with roll call tied in with the Department of Commerce. The mayor, I know you and a number of city officials were tied in with that too. There's going to be a lot of effort and emphasis pushed on workforce and how can North Dakota be a business-friendly state, but also how can we drive some of these workforce initiatives. Back in July of 2008 all the way through 2014, the city did fund a workforce development kind of specialist under the former Minot Area Development Corporation, which is the economic development arm. I'm not saying that that's where we're going to come back with, but just know that the workforce is something we're spending a lot of time, energy, and resources on. We don't have a full-time position. It's something that we're fortunate with our board of directors. We're able to address some of the immediate needs in a great community. But it is an area that we anticipate expanding our scope and figuring out what our role is so that we don't miss out on some of those state opportunities that are in front of us. And with that, I think I kept it to 5 minutes, but I'll open it up if there are any questions. And just thank you again for your continued support of economic development.
Thank you, Brecca. Any questions for any of the presentation or any other items on the Chamber EDC side? Seeing none, thank you, Brecca.
Thank you.
Our next presenter is the Minot Area Council of the Arts. Good afternoon, Justin. If you would, as the others, your name and affiliation and title.
Good evening. Justin Anderson, Executive Director of the Minot Area Council of the Arts. I'm the arts guy and I don't have visuals for you, but I do have things written down because otherwise I will talk way longer than 5 minutes. Mayor Sipma, it is my pleasure to be able to present before you one last time. I have appreciated your work and your dedication to this city and your eagerness to include art in key aspects such as the flood commemoration project last year. Mayor-elect Ross, over the last 2 months, you have taken the opportunity to experience firsthand some of the work of my organization. I hope to see you continue to take these opportunities, and I wish you luck in your upcoming term. Aldermen and alderwomen of the council, Mr. Stewart, you all know me. Each one of you has taken your own opportunities to experience my organization's work and what we bring to our community. That each one of you sitting up there tonight has done this, I am grateful. Before you this evening is our modest annual proposal for funding, which is invaluable to our continued operations. What we do is broken down into 3 simple categories. We promote the arts, we advocate for the arts, and we support the arts through our own programming and activities. First of all, we utilize traditional media, digital billboards, and social media to highlight local arts activities. Through these means, we provide a reach that many local artists would not be able to achieve on their own, and we strive to be a one-stop shop for arts activity in Minot. Second, each of you has heard me speak about the importance of the arts. As I recite statistics gathered in a 2015 national survey showing arts activity in the Minot region is a more than $13.5 million annual industry, generating more than $486,000 in revenue directed to local government. A rather impressive return on investment for our $40,000 request. This advocacy is important and gives us the opportunity to highlight the impact the arts have on our community. In May, we began the year-long work on the next Arts and Economic Prosperity Survey, and sometime in late 2023, I will have new numbers and look forward to showing all of you how these numbers have grown. Lastly, our programming includes concerts at the Minot Public Library, the Carnegie Center, Oak Park, and downtown. We are in the process of launching a subscription program for businesses to showcase local art and are working toward providing professional development programming for our local artists. We have also begun work on a huge project that will draw tourism to Minot and will change the view from the Broadway Bridge for many years to come. This is all to say we do a lot. And the work of our organization, along with the work of all the artists and arts organizations in the city, adds to the vibrancy and resiliency of Minot. This work is critical to Minot's ability to attract and retain citizens, workers, businesses. There is a national trend, a push to redefine infrastructure. With alarming frequency, people across the country are choosing where to live, not based on work, but based on where they want to live. While in today's society, the traditional elements of infrastructure remain important, streets, power, communication, water, sewer, other elements are becoming equally critical to a city's success and well-being. A strong public library, active nonprofits, and a vibrant arts and cultural community top the list of additions to a redefined infrastructure. Without strong public support in these areas, cities struggle to attract and retain their most critical resource, its people. The arts community in Minot works tirelessly to create vibrancy for Minot's visitors and residents. The Minot Area Council of the Arts plays a major role in this. Already this summer, after only 2 nights of Thursdays downtown, we have helped to bring around 600 people to Main Street. People who bought from local vendors and local food trucks, people who shopped in local stores and ate at local restaurants. I heard from a chef at one of Minot's newest restaurants, Whiskey 9, who told me that the last 2 Thursdays have been busier than any other Thursday he's seen. This is the role and benefit of a strong arts community. This is why your support is so critical. You all know I could easily keep talking at length about all of this, but my time is limited, So let me leave you with this. Imagine a Minot without music, without theater, without art. This dull, gray version of Minot is one that I hope to never see. Thank you for your support and your consideration, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Justin. Any questions for Mr. Anderson at this time? Thank you, Justin. And also appreciative of taking on the task of all that is going on at the Carnegie Center with that project. Thank you. We have one more presentation. This is the Souris Basin Planning Commission. I believe Brizelda is here. If you would, your full name and title and...
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brizelda Hernandez, and I am serving as the Interim Executive Director for Souris Basin Planning Council.
If you would pull the microphone down just a little bit, too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Does that work?
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So our mission is to support communities, leaders, and entrepreneurs to advance economic progress for our 7-county region known as North Dakota Region 2. As you may be aware, we offer a variety of financial services, including the Business Accelerator Fund and our 2 of our revolving loan funds to assist startup and expanding businesses throughout our 7-county area. We also offer project management and technical assistance to local units of government and nonprofit organizations throughout our region. The funding we are requesting is specifically tied to support our lending programs. The assistance that we provide to businesses include helping them through the application process, connecting them with resources, and really in the end, working with them to get their business started or expanded. So we've actually worked with a variety of organizations, including the Chamber EDC and other local economic development organizations to advance businesses throughout our region. Additionally, this assistance will allow us to remove barriers to access to capital, but also to incorporate equitable outcomes in small business lending into our loan programs. This year, Souris Basin Planning Council has taken steps to intentionally create programs that are accessible to all individuals, including individuals who are underrepresented, including low-income individuals, people with disabilities, also first-time business owners, individuals from the BIPOC community, that includes Black, Indigenous, and people of color throughout our region. So specifically for these funds, we've received funds in 2022, and we've been reporting on goals that we've set for our lending programs. If we receive the support for 2023, we will also tie these funds to those goals that we establish. That includes the following. For 2022, we set the goal of lending $694,000. So far, we've approved roughly $816,000 throughout our region. We set the goal of retaining 69 jobs. As of June, we've created 79 jobs through our programs. We set the goal of generating 50 new or expanding businesses leads in our region. Right now, we're halfway there, so we're on track. We set the target of 10 project leads with individuals who are part of the underrepresented groups. And right now, we have made contact and have leads with 7 of those individuals, not including the loans that we've approved. We set the goal of generating leads with 15 rural entrepreneurs. We're past halfway point with that goal. And lastly, we set the goal of leveraging roughly $9.7 million in private and local funding through our programs, and we're at roughly $7.7 million. So our goals for 2023 will mirror, if not exceed, those goals that we set, because we're always looking at improving the impact that we have in our region. So in the end, with our funding, we hope that you'll consider approving our request, because we want to continue the work that we're achieving for our 7-county region. And I'd like to note that a lot of that work is here in Minot, being that you are the hub community for our region. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Briselda. Any questions at this time for the Souris Basin Planning Commission? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. City Manager.
Before we move off of this topic, just talk about next steps for council. One is tomorrow I will email out to each of you all of the applications from the entities that presented to you this evening, so you can see their full request of funding. Because at a future council meeting, city staff would like some direction from council as far as what of these funding requests you would like us to build into the budget for the upcoming approval. So I will get that emailed out. I will also include these applications for the public at the next city manager council memo, so the public has those as well. But again, once you receive that, if you can look through those, we'll put this as an agenda item in a meeting in July, so council can discuss and provide feedback to city staff as far as what funding levels you would like to include these in there. As far as I know, I think pretty much all of them are about the same or pretty level, although this is the first that I'm aware of that the city of Minot has received a funding request from Project B.
And if you would, Mr. City Manager, in the past too, it's been helpful not only for council but for community on where that source of funding does come from, as each, or I should say some, does have specifications on sales tax dollars and those different activities, whether it's economic development or others. Alderman Pittner.
Just one point of clarification. We will receive their request from last year if there's a change in their request, up or down.
If you would like, I can provide you last year's as well as this year's request, if that's helpful for you.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to do that.
Any other questions or comments at this time for the city manager? All right. This is the miscellaneous and discussion items. Are there any other items for the council at this time for the good of the order before we move on to liaison reports? Okay. Number 10 is the liaison reports. Alderman Pittner.
I've got nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Alderman Ross.
Nothing.
I did have Ward County Weed Board meeting this morning as we were discussing budgets. We did have a number of our different line items that were anywhere from 10 to 15% expected increase. Fuel, chemical, those types of activities that are seeing increases, all the same types of increases that we heard during our budget discussions on the city side. And I will take note, as 2016 or 17, Alderman Pottergool, I can't remember, sometimes my brain's a little foggy on this one, but when we had the nuisance and abatement committee that had met, there apparently is quite a resurgence of a number of different noxious weeds that are not just prolific around the county, but actually right here in town. There is a number of, most of them are through the corridor within the river systems, but are also finding their way to just about every corner. So just also, as the city PIO has been good about posting, taking care of lots, some of these different weeds can absolutely take over an entire area very quickly and are oftentimes even harmful to pets and animals. So that's a good reminder, not only for us as the city, but individual residential lot owners and commercial properties too. Outside of that, that is, I think I have a couple of more meetings coming up, but for it, that is all I have. Alderman Janser, before I forget that you're on the phone.
Thank you. No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Janser. Alderwoman Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So not necessarily an assigned committee, but discussions started about 2 months ago in the liaison committee, which I chair, related to what Mr. Stewart brought up earlier, the possible move of municipal court over to Ward County. So there have been, I think, 3 noticed meetings that city staff attended. All were held at Ward County, and I was just there for the discussion part of it to hear. So I believe that city manager has covered what we know now, and we'll be looking forward to some more discussion or answers at a later time. And our Souris Basin Planning Council meeting, which had been scheduled earlier in June, was rescheduled till June 28th, so I'll be attending that at that time.
Okay. Alderman Patagula.
Thank you. Things are going, I think, reasonably smoothly on the Commission on Aging. I was not able to attend this month's meeting because I was called out to perform some crisis intervention services, but Roger has spoken about what's going on in there. Minutes are enclosed in our agenda. In terms of the Emergency Resource Council, I did attend the meeting last week, and obviously, the agencies are making plans for the fair and Hoostfest and those kinds of things. One thing that's happening this weekend that's a little bit different is that the amateur radio organization in town is having a field exercise just west of the airport by the new Discovery Center, and they will be operating, I think, on Saturday remotely and communicating with their fellow hams throughout the country and throughout the world. They'll be setting up on Friday and operating on Saturday. So I'm planning on going there, and very curious. It's a very valuable kind of auxiliary resource in terms of major disasters. They helped out with the Katrina flooding with the Red Cross here, and it's an often overlooked but a very important resource to have available for the community. So encourage people to stop by. I presume they have some information on their Facebook and other kinds of social media. The Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee is having a series of public hearings next Tuesday and Wednesday. I believe they're on the city website. There are 3 of them, one for each area. People are invited to come to any or all of them to gather input systematically in terms of what people in different parts of town feel about development and land use needs. So that will be happening next week. And I think that is about it.
Okay. Just 2 final items, or I guess not under any specific committee, but did want to take mention of as this might be my final full regular city council meeting. The Honorary Commander Program does have the mayor paired with 5th Bomb Wing Commander out at Minot Air Force Base, and this Thursday morning, Colonel Walters will relinquish command to the incoming commander. I have to take this moment as mayor to say congratulations to Chewy, that's his call sign. As a B-52 pilot, he has done an outstanding job within our community, and his wife Carrie and girls are just peaches. It's tough to say goodbye to them as they have done outstanding work at Minot Air Force Base, especially when it comes to the connectivity with the spouses and the different families that are out there that also call Minot Air Force Base home for a period of time. It's going to be tough to say goodbye, but he is heading off to the Pentagon, I think, to do great things out in Washington, and I expect to see great things from Colonel Walters down the road. So I'll be attending that change of command this Thursday and wish him and Carrie and the girls all the best down the road. And I can't miss the opportunity. Today is June 20th. 11 years ago today, this place was packed with then former Mayor Kurt Zimbelman and a whole lot of people as we learned the fate of what was to come for the city of Minot 2 days later. It's been 11 years now since the June 2011 press conferences that were held right here. And all the more reason to continue working forward for our flood control projects. And with that, I did have an extensive conversation with Representative Jim Schmidt over the weekend, who's the head of the Water Topics Committee. And for the full council, there is going to be a Water Topics Committee here in Minot this September. Representative Schmidt did hope that the full council and, of course, Mayor-elect will be attending that, and as well as that is the tours of the entire project and what's to come, and also some of the planning of what's ahead for 2023, not just with our local legislators, but with the full basin-wide coalition of that. So mark your calendars. With that, we have run out of things to talk about. Number 11 is adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Pittner to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Olson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.